A Deadpool tie?
Of course. Well, here's why I have that on.
Out.
No, here's why. I just interviewed Brolin for Only the Brave. And
you just wore the same outfit.
I just wore the same outfit. I haven't changed.
Yeah.
I need to get a Thor tie. It's Marvel. It's
I'm
still
going to buy you one, mate. This is awkward. You can just hold this in front of yourself instead. There
you
you
go.
There you go.
Yeah, Kevin McCarthy, Washington, D.C. The scene that we saw in the trailer when you are facing off versus Hulk and like he comes out and you're like, yes! Like, to me, that's like one of the most iconic moments because it was so awesome. I was nerding out when you do that scene. Do you know it's going to be a big moment like that? And like, do you do it multiple times?
Can I be honest? When we shot that scene, it was like at the end of a long week, and it was like I didn't feel that sort of energy, and I was like, oh God, I'm so tired. What are we doing? What's this scene? And we started just improvising, and then it just gathered more life and gained momentum, and then before we know it, we were saying all sorts of ridiculous things. And there'll be some DVD extras version of that scene where there's a 10-minute conversation about me and Hulk talking about his relationship with Black Widow, and do they still talk, and do you love her, but that was every day on set was just exploring the sort of unknown and trying different things, and it was cool. Yeah, once I saw the trailer, I went, oh wow, that worked.
It was a great take.
But you never know at the time. You're just kind of rolling the dice, I think.
Over the years, how the hammer's changed digitally, practically on set, has it changed at all effects-wise for you as an actor? Because you're like flipping it up in the movie.
Yeah, well, that was the first time we'd had a full visual effect version of it because I'm not very good at flipping the hammer and catching it. But beyond that, it was sort of been pretty much the same. It sort of changed sizes over the years, and each director wants to, make it a little more this or a little more that, and then we just broke it in this one. So
it was awesome.
Didn't matter.
You get shocked a lot in this film. Like it's like crazy.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like, do you just sit there all day and just like convulse, like as an actor?
Yep, most of the time.
Can you talk about like is it method acting, or you like is someone shocked?
You're literally convulsing. I think part of it though was like, once you become the hero, right? You have the origin story of the superhero, and once he learns all the lessons and becomes all powerful and knowing, you kind of have nowhere to go. You kind of hit the ceiling, and so we had to find a way to sort of bring him back to reality and make him vulnerable and make him accessible, and that was one of the keys to it, and also put him on a planet where he's an equal now. He's not stronger than everybody else, and so.
Now, what was interesting was when we first saw the trailer, it was crazy seeing Hulk with that, or not Hulk, Thor with that haircut. It was insane because he had that long hair for so long. Has it always been a wig? Did you ever actually grow Thor's hair out?
Thor 2 was mostly my hair and a few sort of extensions. Cool. Thor 1 was a wig. Avengers, both Avengers were wigs. Yeah. So I was happy to cut it off or not have to put it on in the morning.
Yeah.
It's an extra hour in makeup.
Before we go, Infinity War, are you nerding out about it? Can you tell me anything about it? I'm so freaking excited to see you guys all together.
Oh man, I'm beyond nerding out about it. And we just did this photo shoot on the last week with all of the cinematic Marvel universe and all the actors, and there's Michelle Pfeiffer and Lawrence Fishburne and Robert Downey Jr. and Michael Douglas, and it was like everywhere I looked, I was like, oh my God, these are all my idols. And so to sort of realize that I'm a part of that in some small way, and to the sort of culmination of the Marvel universe is incredibly special.
Dude, it's always good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, mate.
This is freaking awesome.
You can have that.
Are you serious?
That's from.
Thank you, man. When you're talking as Hulk,
yeah,
do you actually lower your voice? I know they do stuff in post, but do you do a lower voice for it?
Yeah, so the Hulk voice is Thor like Hulk like fire.
That's cool.
Thor's like fire, yeah, but Hulk like raging fire. Thor like smoldering fire.
That's pretty cool seeing you do that. Like, you kind of like you get into the physicality of it too when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Obviously one of the coolest things we saw in the trailers, in the first trailer, was that fight scene with you and he's like,
I know it from work.
Yes,
yes, he's a friend from work.
From work, yeah. I was just curious when you were doing that scene. Obviously, we never see you in human form there. Are you there in mocap? Like how much of that scene do you do with Chris?
So that one I did with a stuntman, and then I saw his performance, so then I do the opposite of me coming out. But mostly that was just fighting. And so I did that one on the volume by myself or with the stuntman or with a little version of Thor.
Really?
Yeah.
What does a little version of Thor look like?
It's like a little kid mannequin. And so like I punch it or I run towards it and I smash it, you know. It's like, and it's dressed up with like him. He's got the helmet on.
Has Chris seen
and
this?
the cape. I don't know. It was me and Taika and the stunt guys. So but all the scenes that I'm acting with him, where we're like having real, like all the stuff in the apartment, Hulk's apartment, is me and Chris acting together.
That's awesome.
It's awesome, and this is the first time I really got to do that with people.
Yeah.
Where they're able to capture all the information.
And you're doing it right there. Are you elevated up
So
higher?
yeah, so now they put me on a platform.
Cool.
And I started to work with stilts now to see if I can do some of the acting on stilts, because I'm literally, I mean, I'm like 3-4 feet taller than I am now, so
Wow, that's crazy.
I know what it's like to be Chris Hemsworth all the time, looking down on the rest of the world.
I wanted to ask you, obviously, one of the cool things about the film is there's this scene where you, it's kind of an homage to what you did in Avengers when you took Loki and did Puny God.
Yes.
And I won't give away what you do, but you do that again with somebody else in this
Yes,
film.
yes.
Did you do it the similar way the way you did it with Joss Whedon?
Yeah, so like so we did the same thing where I go on a soundstage, but with Joss Whedon, the technology was so far behind that I did that in a paint room offset one day when we had like a few extra minutes. They're like, we need you to go and do the Loki smash scene.
Puny God.
Yeah. And I literally just, we did that in 10 minutes. This now I got to do on a volume. I have a stunt person. I have the little piece of foam that I use. You know.
Before I go, did you actually wear Robert Downey Jr.'s clothes in the movie?
No, but I picked the things that I thought would be the most like him.
They were looking just like him. It was
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The nagel.
The shirt.
He loves Duran Duran. They played at his birthday party, so I was like, oh my God, I have to get the Duran Duran logo, but I couldn't get it, so I got the nagel instead.
That's cool, man. Hey, it was
Cool.
awesome seeing you,
Yeah,
man.
sure,
Really
man.
good.
You too.
Well, first of all, I was just talking to Mark Ruffalo about this. I'm like blown away by this. He was telling me the scenes when he would do the fight scenes in the arena with Chris Hemsworth's character, he'd be in a volume with a mini Thor.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was like a little kid, but a doll. It was a mannequin, all right? It wasn't a real kid. Mark Ruffalo, at no point were any children having to fight Mark Ruffalo in this movie. Yeah, it was actually amazing to see, because we had to, for the scale thing, you know, so this little mannequin's about 3 foot high, and we dressed him up like Thor just so we give him some reference to look in. So little red cape and stuff, and there's Mark just like throwing this thing around and wrestling with it and punching it, and it was amazing to see, because when you're shooting it, you're like, oh, we're dead. There's no way this is ever going to look good. Like, what are we doing? This is like doing a play. And then you look at the movie.
You can't even tell.
It's like, you know, you see this Hulk sweat, and you got to see, you know, every detail in the skin and his face and stuff. And it's all Mark's face.
Yeah.
You know, every expression that Hulk does, it's all Mark's face, and all those nuances, and it's his performance.
Can you talk about your utilization of score? Because the score is brilliant, and I think that the way you use music in your films has always been very interesting. And I think here, you have scenes where there'll just be like straight dialogue, like no music will be playing, and then you'll bring this score in at really interesting times. Can you talk about using the score as a character in certain sequences?
Yeah. I've always loved silence in films, because I think like you can overcook it with music, but this one was striking a balance between something old and something new. Like, we wanted to keep the traditional feeling of like Thor's theme and some of the instrumentation, orchestral instrumentation, for the traditional Asgardian kind of stuff. Once we were on Sakaar, and we plummet down the wormhole towards Sakaar, and then the music changes, and it becomes a bed of synthesizers, and Mark Mothersbaugh then just comes in and just like takes over, and it's like just that electro arpeggiated synth music going throughout the film. That stuff, you know, and then Grandmaster's got his music and stuff, and it's eclectic, and it's like the poster. It's every color you can imagine as music, you know, and that's what we wanted. Was like, if we just can't hold back in the direction we're running in with this film. We just have to throw everything in. Every toy in the sandpit is going in.
Talk about how Cord looked on set. So I'm curious, like, I'm assuming it was performance capture. Were you in a mocap suit? Were you there physically on
Yeah.
set with dots? And if
I was.
so, how are you directing yourself? And, like,
Yeah.
this is a big film. Like, how are you doing that all at once? And, like, talk about what you looked like first, but also directing yourself in moments like that.
Well, for a start, being taken seriously as a director when you're wearing fractal pajamas is not easy.
Right.
You're trying to order people around, tell them your vision for the scene, and you look like a complete knob end. And you just like these ping pong ball things all over, these nodule things, and you got these dots all over your face and stuff, and it's the most emasculating experience ever. But then, directing, because I've put myself in all my films,
Right.
and so I'm used to that. And Jermaine and I, when we were growing up, we would often direct each other in theatre as well for years. So we've like done it, and I'm just used to doing that. And I don't look at playback or anything. I'm so confident in my acting that I just know we've got it. We got it. Only took 28 takes. We got it.
Do you get previs of what you look like, though, at least? Like,
A little bit. Sometimes you get like but luckily for me, the scenes that I'm in, it doesn't matter if I'm like, it's very simply shot, and that's
Yeah.
the stuff that makes it easier. I couldn't, if it was like, I'm going to be playing this action thing where I have to do all these stunts and stuff, that would be way too much pressure, I think, and I'd have to chill out on that. But for me, playing a character like this is just fun. He's got a good energy. He's like a helper character, and he's just, I think, everyone in these films are always so tough, and it's nice to have someone who's delicate on the inside. He's like a big guy made of rocks, but he's like a very caring, motherly kind of character who's like just wants to look after everyone, just wants everyone to be safe. Guys, why do we have to fight? We don't have to fight about it, And he's just like a gentle giant.
I loved him. Well, congratulations to you. It was an honor talking with you.
Thank you.
So much for the interview. Because I know the character in the comic book is fully blue,
Yes.
but I want to know, like, as a character, how he decided to do the blue thing. Do you build that in? Like, it's such an interesting look. It's so cool.
Thanks. No, they were, I sort of voted as we went along, and they showed me pictures of the comic book character and some of the things they were thinking of for the wardrobe and things before. I was Skyping people in Australia a couple of months before, but then I finally got there a week before because I had to get my sea legs time-wise, too. I had to get used to those drains going the other way. I never checked whether they actually did that.
Wait, do they really?
I don't know. That's what they say.
My honeymoon was in Australia, so I didn't look.
Your honeymoon?
Yeah, we just did our honeymoon last
You
November.
didn't look. You were busy. Who has time to look at the drains? No, darling, hold on. I'm checking to see the drains. I said wait. I must find this out first. No,
Goldblum
Kevin.
told me to look.
Yeah. No, next time when you go back on your second honeymoon.
Yes, I will definitely.
You two lovebirds. No, but what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I got there to get my sea legs a week before, and Kevin Feige and Louis D'Esposito and the whole team, they're not only a big epic operation moving like this, but not in any clunky way. They're flexible. Gosh darn it. And we camera tested something that they'd sewn up. They said, let's do something else. We changed the costume. There it is right there. We changed that costume, and then they had masterful hair people. I think they did my hair in 8 different ways. It was like a whole composite. I wish I could have used it for my actor's composite picture. And here I am with my hair
still
in
need that.
bangs. I could look like this for bangs. And then we decided to go with that troll doll kind of a thing. And then they went, how about fingernails and blue toenails? Let's give it a try. I don't know.
loved it. This is my favorite part.
Let's see it on camera. And then, and then they did that. I went, let me see. Oh, just with my hand, no mirror. Just like that.
You see yourself.
Yeah.
In your, yeah.
Yes, I can see myself in these dishes. Remember that commercial?
Yes.
But look, oh yes. And I thought, I'm pretty good.
I want to ask you, you're a musician.
Sir, I play jazz piano at
and I've seen
Rockwell
you.
once a week. You did?
I've seen you do it live. You came out to a Kevin Spacey event in
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it was a while back. And I want to ask you, since you're a musician, movies and music are very similar in regards to the arcs they take. Do you think about what Grandmaster's music taste would be? I know he has certain elements that happen in the movie, like where there's music playing, but like, do you think about like what his music taste is?
Do I ever?
What is it?
He's been around for 14 billion years, so he's seen everything.
Right.
the didgeridoo. I think he's probably sampled everything. He's got a chance to hear everything. I think he's probably eclectic in his taste, because even if you like something, you get bored with it. If you like one song particularly, how many billion years can you play that one song? I'm sure you get bored. So he's sampled everything. In the movie, I don't know if you noticed, you see me playing a little bit.
Yeah.
So you hear my current musical taste a little bit. I sing at one point.
You do?
You hear something. Of course, I don't want to give anything away, but as our friend is being led into about to meet me, and you're getting a kind of a amusement park introduction to me on tape. It includes some music, which I'm sure I've approved. Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember the song. What song?
And you'll be in a world of your imagination.
Oh yes, you're right.
From
It was
Willy
playing.
Wonka and the
You're
Chocolate
right.
Factory.
It took me a second.
The original was Gene Wilder.
That's right, of course.
He was also in Bonnie and Clyde.
Of course.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you, Mr. Goldblum.
Thank you, my
It was a
friend.
pleasure
So
talking
nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Nice
Good
to
seeing
see
you,
you.
too.
So
Thank
good
you
to
for the
see you.
interview. That shot when you're walking down that rainbow runway and the fireworks are going off on the ship behind you, it's epic. Can you talk about shooting that shot and what it looked like for you on set? I know there's CG elements there, but what did it look like for you as you did that epic slow motion shot?
Slow motion's always a funny thing because So for example, we shot some of the fight sequence stuff in slow motion too, and you feel so cool sometimes. And then Taika would come up to me and be like, "Hey, really good, but close your mouth this time because it's in slow motion." So this in slow motion is not the ticket. So there's a balance of sort of just not thinking too much about it, but also thinking about how is what I'm doing gonna look in slow motion.
Well, it looks awesome. It looks awesome, especially the sequence when you when we first meet your character and the two guns come out and you're like dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah, that was so fun. That was really fun to shoot. That was my very last day of work. We'd been working for 5 months.
Really? So it's so fascinating to me that was the last day, even though it's the first time we meet you.
I know.
When you were shooting that moment, is anything actually going off around you so you have reference to what's being shot?
Not a thing.
Wow.
Not a thing. Yeah, you just sort of have Taika shouting out stuff like this, and we're creating it together just as we go. And that's what's so cool about what Marvel can do because, I'll be doing this with my hands and then suddenly Marvel has to make a universe around that, around something that we did on set. It's
so cool.
It's incredible how gifted all those folks are.
Now, we learn a lot about throughout the movie about your Valkyrie character, again, kind of going back to what happened, not giving anything away specifically, but there's some really cool flashback shots, which you actually see in the trailer when you're kind of going towards Cate Blanchett's character. Do you build in more to her backstory than is written for you and or in the comics? Do you find do you make things up about her that maybe we wouldn't know, just something that helps you get into the character?
Yeah, to make it sort of specific to our universe and what makes sense. But then there's also so much in the source material, and you'd pitch some of that stuff, and some of it makes it in, and some of it doesn't. But they're creating these characters, so you can take little snippets. That's why who knows where she'll go, but I think there's so much fun stuff to do because she sometimes, gets into the bodies of. She has hosts, body, so she can sometimes be in your skin, for example. So that's something that could be fun to explore. Or one of her powers kind of is she can see when death is imminent. She can't tell exactly how it will happen, but if someone's going to die, she can see a death glow around them. So obviously in the world of superheroes and big battles, that could be an interesting thing to explore. So you sort of have all those ideas, in you, and then you are up to just finding new things.
I'm curious what they use for drinking scenes in films. There's a scene where you literally chug this entire bottle in this one shot. Do they put sweet tea in there? What is that?
I think that day that was probably whiskey. And
Real
then I
whiskey.
think there were some other ones. There was a day that was maybe a tequila day.
They really use
It's
stuff?
a little bit of fruit punch.
No, they don't. They don't actually use that real. There's no way.
Nah.
But does it actually taste good? At least whatever they put in there. I can't
It
imagine.
depends on what you ask for.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's I did a movie recently though where the poor set deck guy didn't have time. He just didn't actually take the whiskey out, and so it was a film that I just did with Keith Stanfield, and he and I are just in the first take chugged a bunch of whiskey. So that was fun. But no, it's sweet tea or Coke mixed with water, which is But sometimes you just have a little nip.
Yeah.
Before.
Get you into the scene.
Yeah. Not too many nips, but you have you throw back one or two.
Well, it looks realistic on screen, so it was awesome seeing you. Congratulations to you. Thank you so much.